All right, folks, this is our live lesson for Halloween Day, October 31st, talking to you about figurative language and poetic devices. So you have a two-part assignment today and tomorrow where you're going to be taking a look at poetic devices in song lyrics. The point to this is to be able to pick out devices, to properly label devices, but even more important than that is to explain how these devices are impacting our understanding of the meaning of the song. So basically, how are they influencing the meaning of the song? So I'm just going to go over an example here. Firework by Katy Perry. We're going to go through the lyrics. We're going to pick out some poetic devices. We're going to label these poetic devices, and we're going to talk about how they emphasize the meaning of the song. First, I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of the lyrics. So it says, "Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind and wanting to start again? Do you ever feel so paper thin, like a house of cards, one blow from caving in? Do you ever feel already buried deep, 6 feet under, scream, but no one hears a thing? Do you know that there's still a chance for you, 'cause there's a spark in you? You just gotta ignite the light and let it shine. Just own the night like the 4th of July. 'Cause baby, you're a firework. Come on, show 'em what you're worth. Make 'em go oh, oh, oh as you shoot across the sky. Baby, you're a firework. Come on, let your colors burst. Make 'em go oh, oh, oh. You're gonna leave 'em falling down." I'm not going to bother going through much more of the lyrics because I feel like there's already a ton that we can talk about in those first few lines there. So I think first things first, you want to establish what the heck the song is talking about. And I think that the best way to do that is to take a look at the chorus of the song. This is a little sort of poetic stanza that's repeated oftentimes throughout a song, and it's being repeated because it's trying to emphasize a main part of the song, which would be the actual meaning. So if you take a look at the chorus here, it says, "Baby, you're a firework. Show 'em what you're worth. Make 'em go oh, oh, oh as you shoot across the sky. Baby, you're a firework." Okay, so if I had to say what I think the meaning of this song is, it's that you are a bright light, is that you do not have to feel like a nobody, you do not have to feel like a loser that's doing nothing in life, is that you are a bright, beautiful person and you just need to embrace it. And I think that if you read through the lyrics, it's pretty easy to see that that's kind of the overall meaning of the song. So, oh, hang on, someone's joining me, I believe. Hey, Mariana, so if you just give me a sec, I started going through some song lyrics. We're taking a look at Katy Perry's Firework, and I'm just going through some of the poetic devices to show you how I want you to connect these to the overall meaning in your assignment that you're working on for today and tomorrow. So I had read through the lyrics, you missed that part, and I had said the first thing that you want to do with a song is try and figure out what you think the meaning of the song is. The best way to do that is to look to the chorus. So in this particular song, Firework by Katy Perry, I think what she's trying to tell us is that even when life seems dim, even when you feel like a loser, you shouldn't. You should feel like an original, beautiful, fireworky, lit up beautiful person, and basically you need to embrace that. And I think that if you take a look at the chorus, that's pretty obvious. So the next step that I want to do, now that I've established what I think the theme or the moral or the message of the song is to try and find some poetic devices and then find a way to explain how that particular poetic device reinforces the theme or moral of the song. So I think that I'm going to take a look at the first 3 lines. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind wanting to start again? If I was going to label this with a device, I would use a simile, because a simile is when you compare two things using the words like or as. In this instance, they are comparing the feeling that you get with a plastic bag drifting through the wind wanting to start again. I think that this is some pretty strong imagery here, because when you consider a plastic bag floating through the wind, a lot of ideas are conjured up. You're thinking basically a plastic bag floating in the wind is kind of like a piece of discarded garbage. Nobody cares about it. So it's kind of got negative connotation there. And just like the bag wants to start again, it wants to have life, but it feels kind of like a nobody, right? And I think that that really negative imagery is continued on with the next 4 lines where it says, "Do you ever feel so paper thin like a house of cards, one blow from caving in?" Again, this is another example of a simile because we are comparing the feeling that you have with feeling paper thin like a house of cards. Again, I think that this is really beautiful imagery because if you've ever built a paper cards, you know how fragile they are. You know that if somebody walks by as you're building it, it's going to fall down into 2 gold seconds. So again, this feeling of impermanence, this feeling of not being strong, I think they're really building up this imagery because eventually she's going to start contrasting it with a more positive imagery. And that actually comes, in the 4th little section here. And if I was going to use a device, the line where it says, do you know that there's still a chance for you? There's a spark in you. You just got to ignite the light, let it shine. I would say that this is an example of juxtaposition. And what juxtaposition is when you take 2 contrasting ideas and you place them side by side to reinforce these opposite feelings. So as I said, the first 3 sections there, lines 1 through 9, all have very negative imagery, feeling down about yourself. But then all of a sudden, once line 10 comes along, we see a juxtaposed concept, much more positive imagery, because there's a light in you. It says, you just gotta ignite the light and let it shine just on the night, right? So we see that this light imagery is now contrasting or juxtaposed with these really dark, sort of sad imagery that were built in the first 3 sections. To pick up on some more poetic devices, I think that I'm going to pick up on the idea of assonance. And what assonance is when we see an internal rhyme sound. And an example of that is in line 12, where it says, you just gotta ignite the light and let it shine just on the night. And you see that long I sound being repeated. Now, in your assignment, it's one thing to say, yep, I can recognize this as an example of assonance, but the more important part is explaining why we care about this assonance. What is the effect of assonance? And I would say when repetition comes into play, whether that's the repetition of a whole word or even repetition of a sound, it's being done to place emphasis on those particular words that are having that rhyming sound. So, in the instance here, the words that are being emphasized are ignite, light, shine. These are very, very positive images that, again, are sort of asking you to step outside of that sad, melancholy, I feel like a nobody feeling that is really being portrayed in the first 3 sections, and again, contrasting it with the much more positive, light imagery. And I think if we're talking about symbols here, which is another poetic device, light imagery all the time is pretty much positive imagery, right? It's dark is usually sad, evil, scary, light is usually positive. So, what I've done here already, I've listed 2 similes, I've listed juxtaposition, I've listed assonance, so lots of, even metaphor, because baby, you're a firework. This is a comparison saying that you're like a firework, but it's not using the words like or as. So there you go, another simple poetic device, which is metaphor, and continuing on with the imagery that, nope, you don't have to feel like a nobody, you can be bright and you can shine and you can be the wonderful you that we all know that you are. So this has been like an 8-minute long video, which has actually gone through a lot quicker than I thought it would. But hopefully, if anybody's watching this replay, they see when it comes to the final assignment, I do not want you just to say, this song has a metaphor and it has a simile and it has repetition. I want you to show me where that metaphor is. I want you to show me where that simile is. And more importantly, I want you to explain the effect of those devices. Why are they being used? How do they serve to emphasize the theme of the song? So I'm just going to go back to my chat here, because Mariana and myself were here all by our lonesome. Mariana, do you have any questions about this? Have you had a chance to look through the lesson? Do you feel clear about what you should be doing? I can barely hear you. You might have to turn your mic up. Let me turn my speakers up too. Oh. Okay, say something again. Yep, I can hear you loud and clear. I just had to crank. It's just, we're filming right now, filming. People can hear you, so if anybody's watching the replay right now, they'll be able to hear what you're saying. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Perfect. Mariana, have you done the first part of the assignment with the discussion portion where you're just looking at Charlie's mixtape and finding the devices there? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so my advice would be make sure that you obviously do the discussion portion first, because that's like your practice run. That's where you get to see if you can actually do this, and you'll get feedback on it. And this goes for all of your classmates as well. So take part in the discussion so your teacher can give you feedback. And if you're on the right track, then you know you're good. You're good to get started on that second part where you're doing your own mixtape. And if you want a level 4, I would say that you need to have at least 4 devices that you have found. So don't just pick out one simile and say, okay, I'm done for the day. You want to show me that you can pick out multiple poetic devices and connect all of them back to the theme of the song. All right. So, I mean, I'm just kind of talking to myself at this point. If you, unless you have any more questions, you can just skedaddle and get her done and start working on what you got to work on. And I will probably go ahead and stop recording this video right now. All right. Yeah, no problemo. All right, so as I said, that's pretty much all that I want you to know about this. Making sure, of course, that you are looking at the rubric, which you can view through the submission box, so that you know what you need to do for success. As I said, I want you to be, if you want a level 4, which I assume you all do, you want to be picking out at least 4 different devices. Don't just give me 4 examples of repetition. That's really simple. Show me that you understand a wide variety of devices. Mix them up. Have a metaphor, have a simile, have assonance, have personification. Try and use as many as you can to show me that you really understand how poetic devices work. And again, connecting them back to the theme. This is, from a critical thinking standpoint, probably the most difficult thing that we've asked you to do so far in this course. So if you're struggling with it, I think that's fair because it's the hardest thing we've done so far. But don't be afraid to message your teacher if you're having troubles with it. And we will also be responding back to your discussion posts, your dry run, to make sure that you understood what you're doing, giving you some feedback so that you have room to improve for the second part of the assignment that you actually get marked for. Okay, so this is Tully signing off for today. Hopefully if you didn't catch the live thing, you're watching this as the replay, and good luck with everything.